the Author to Author podcast series with award-winning author Pamela R Haynes.
Welcome to the podcast.
Dalgety Herbal Teas produce 100% natural high-quality organic teas using only the best ingredients. Available now from all major supermarkets, or please visit our website at dalgety.co. Dalgety Herbal Teas.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night. Welcome to another episode of the Author to Author podcast. Last time I informed you that I was appearing on Sky TV as a panel member of the Sky Arts Book Club show, and I have to say I had an epic experience from start to finish. Sky TV sent a driver to whisk me away to their studios, where I met up with my fellow book club members from Angie's Book Club, and what a lovely group of beautiful black women they are. For the book club discussions, we read Grown Ups by Marian Keyes, Assembly by Natasha Brown, and the classic The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. What a treat it was to meet up with Marianne and Natasha. Both women were graceful with their time and posed for photos, selfies, and they even signed copies of our books. The show airs on Sky Arts TV, channel 122, on Tuesday the 27th of July 2021 at 9 p.m. GMT. If you're listening to my podcast after the date has passed, you will find the recording of the show on YouTube. Check out my Instagram page at Loving the Brothers Author for behind the scenes photos. I am the one wearing a powder blue dress. Many thanks to Angie Greaves for choosing me from nearly 300 book club members to represent Angie's Book Club on the show. It's not too late to join in the fun. You can find the book club on Facebook. I'm also excited to inform you that we had a virtual award ceremony for the recipient of the Dalgety Community Spirit Book Awards. I was delighted to present Daniela Bleckner, author and CEO of Conscious Dreams Publishing, with her award. So stay tuned to season 2 of the podcast, where I interview Daniela and her sister Francesca Bleckner. Today, let's welcome my guest, author, Pan-Africanist, and historian and journalist, Makonnen Sankofa.
Good morning, Makonnen, and how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks, Pam. Thank you for inviting me onto this podcast. I'm glad that I have the opportunity to share with you and share with your listeners on your platform.
That's absolutely wonderful. And do you know that you're the first male for me to interview out of 6 interviews so far?
I felt privileged, but I'm not surprised, because even with my platform, I noticed that there's a lot more particularly a lot more female authors that I'm coming across than male authors. But I am really glad that you get the opportunity to speak here.
You know what I couldn't not do? I mean, from the time you started your Black Books webinar, which we will talk about during this discussion, I was really privileged to be invited onto the very first one. And, so I had to have you on at some stage. So I'm glad that you are the last person I'm having for season 1 of the. So, Makonnen, where in the world are you from?
Okay, so, in terms of background heritage, my mum was born in England, but she's from, her parents are from Jamaica. They're both Jamaican. And my dad was actually born and raised in Malawi, which is Southeast Africa.
Okay. And where are you based now?
So at the moment, I'm in London, Southeast London. However, I have lived in various different places. So at one point, I was living in Luton for quite a long time. So a lot of people familiar with me and know me as a Lutonian, because I lived in Luton for quite a long time. So as well, but when I haven't been in London, I'm back at the moment temporarily with my mum before I moved back to Africa. But when I haven't been in London, I've been in Luton. I've also been in Southampton when I was studying at university. And I've been in Bedford, which is near Luton as well. So I've lived in various different places. And I've lived in Africa, of course, which we'll speak about later.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, where in Africa have you previously travelled to?
So I've only been to the Gambia so far. However, I have ambition to travel to a lot more countries in Africa. Nigeria and Zambia, particularly on my next travels. But at the moment, it's just the smiling coast of Africa.
So tell me, what is special about Gambia?
The first thing has to be the people. I mean, the people are the most warm, kindest people that I've ever met in my life. And I've traveled to different places, whether it's different countries, and I've been in various different places in the United Kingdom that I've gone up and down with the work that I've done. I get around a lot anyway, but it's just the way that they make you feel accepted and embraced and really part of like the fabric of the Gambia. And everywhere that I went, I was treated very, very well. And it's like the mentality that they've got is it's a very community orientated culture, and it's very shared as well. So the way that they're raised in a community is very like the Ubuntu kind of spirit. It's like I am because we are. It takes a village to raise a child. And you can see that evident in the Gambia, because everywhere that you go, it's not just, for example, me because I was going as a foreigner, or that's how I may have been viewed, or someone because they're going abroad. They like that with their own people. They like that with people they don't know, with strangers. And just an example of the kind of friendliness, a couple examples. One time when I was in Gambia, it was in rainy season. And I remember this was around August time. And I was coming back from a party. And when I come back from the party, I got in a taxi, as you do. So the taxi driver, he crossed me across the rain. Now, you will be familiar with the rain because I know you're from Barbados. So you know about Caribbean weather, Caribbean rain. So imagine that heavy rainfall. And I haven't got across the road because I have to be parked across the road because there's so much rain blocking me from getting to my flat. And the driver's got out. The water is so much water all over the floor, for example. He's offered to carry me through the water to get to my flat.
Oh, wow.
For those listeners who haven't seen me in person or might not be aware, that I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3" and yeah, I'm quite broad. So the guy was about an average height man, an average size. So for him to like offer to do that, and another time the taxi driver, when it was raining, similarly, he got up across the road and helped me carry my bags through the puddles. It wasn't raining as much, but that's just the kind of gesture that the people do. You can go to places in Gambia and they will offer you to eat food with them. So they all have a sit down and they have a big bowl of food and they eat together. And you could just be walking past and they'll be like, "Oh, hello, brother. Do you want to have something to eat?" Or they'll offer you some food with them. And that's just like the kind of spirit they've got. And it's like anywhere you go, you can ask for directions and they'll greet you and they'll be friendly. So you feel really accepted. And that's how I felt by the Gambian people made me feel. Hence why it's called the smiling coast of Africa.
Right. Oh, that's just wonderful. That's a wonderful tribute to the Gambian people, how they make you feel as though you're at home. Wonderful. You said earlier, though, that your family hail from Jamaica. But whereabouts in Jamaica are your family from?
So my mum's family from Portland and Port Antonio, which is in the same parish of Portland anyway. Portland and Port Antonio is a part of Portland. So that area. Also, I do have some family in Kingston as well. But as far as I'm aware, those are the main parts of Jamaica, Kingston and Portland.
So what is your favourite beach in Jamaica?
Right, I couldn't give you an answer for that. The reason is because I've been to Jamaica a few times. The last time I went there was a few years ago for my cousin's wedding. We stayed in Montego Bay, but the wedding was in Falmouth, and we did see the family in Port Antonio. However, when I've been to Jamaica, when I was little, we went to some beaches, but I was too young to remember a lot of the beaches. When I went last time, I didn't really go to a lot of the beaches other than outside the hotel. It wasn't too many beaches I went to. So when I was young, I couldn't remember like the names of all the beaches, if I'm honest.
Okay, but what are your family names?
So on my grandfather's side, Burbeck, or they pronounce it as Burbick in Jamaica. It's Burbeck in England. So interestingly, my grandfather his brother is Trevor Burbick. That's the name. I can't believe it was what. His brother is Trevor Burbick. Now, for those who don't know, Trevor Burbick is the first world heavyweight boxing champion of Jamaica. And he even beat Muhammad Ali in a fight, and he's fought with people like Mike Tyson as well. That was my granddad's brother, a big time boxer. If you go on Google, you can find him, Trevor Burbick. And yeah, that's the lineage that I've got from my grandfather. And on my grandmother's side, it's White, spelled Whyte. And yeah, some of them are descendants of the Maroons as well. So I do have a rich side on both my grandparents' sides from Jamaica.
So where does your name come from, Sankofa?
Sankofa, that is a Ghanaian name. So I actually renamed myself. So when I was 23, I'm 30 now. I took on Makonnen and Sankofa. They are both different names. So I'll answer Sankofa first because you asked that. So Sankofa is a Ghanaian. It means to go back and get, or to go back and fetch, to look in the past, look at your history and your roots, and learn from the past and use what you've learned to prosper in the future. And that's really the ethos in terms of who I am and my personality and what I'm about in terms of my Black consciousness, my African consciousness. So I really then adapted that name. And even, as you know, a lot of the Jamaicans were taken from in the slave trade, were taken from the Ghana, from the Akan, the Shanti anyway. And it is an Akan name. So there you go. There's again a connection. And some of the Maroons were from the Akan side. So there's another connection there. And then Makonnen, I took on that as my first name because Makonnen is the name of Haile Selassie before he was crowned emperor of Ethiopia. He was called, him and his father, they both had the name Makonnen. It's a surname. So Rastafari Makonnen was the name that Haile Selassie had before he was crowned emperor of Ethiopia. So me being a Rastafarian and being inspired by Haile Selassie, I then took on the name Makonnen Sankofa. And that's where my name Makonnen Sankofa comes from. So it's got Ethiopian and Ghanaian origins in the first and the surname.
Well, that's absolutely beautiful. And thank you for giving us that history to your family names. I'm definitely going to look up that boxer. I didn't know about that there was a Jamaican boxer who beat Muhammad Ali. So I'll definitely have to look that up. But also a fantastic explanation of the names that you chose for yourself. But why did you feel the need to change your name?
I felt the need to change my name because, I'd had a previous taken a European name, and I felt like myself being a very Afrocentric individual, I felt obviously names are reflections of who we are. So obviously during the transatlantic slave period, our names we're given English names like Smith, Johnson, etc. But that doesn't necessarily fit who we are as a people. So really, again, being fully reconnected and embraced and being proud to be African, I wanted to have an African name to reflect my identity. So to me, having an African name was very much important in my identity. I wanted people to, when they see my name, or be like, yeah, that's an African name, and that I could be very, very much proud of that, because that, in essence, that's what I'm about.
Well, it embraces you so much and it describes you perfectly. I can't imagine you being called anything else. So that's wonderful. But your book is called Life in Gambia. Tell us about your book. What is it about?
Okay, so Life in Gambia, it could be a personal memoir, it could be a vlog, it could be a travel guide, it could be several different things. It covers a lot in the book. So it's really about my experience of living in Gambia for 6 months. If it's okay, could I read the blurb of my book, the back of the book?
Yeah, that's fine. It's perfect.
Okay, so this is from the back of my book, Life in Gambia, the Smiling Coast of Africa by Makonnen Sankofa. So I go on and it says on the back of my book, Gambia is one of the most popular destinations to travel to in Africa. Its hot weather, beautiful beaches, rich culture, and friendly citizens make it the ideal location for many people. There is also a growing influx of people of African heritage born in the diaspora who have either relocated permanently to Gambia or they have plans to move there in the future. Author Makonnen Sankofa has been to Gambia 3 times. In 2019, he spent 6 months living in Gambia. In this book, Makonnen gives insight into his experiences of Gambia. Makonnen's journey is from the perspective of a person who has African Caribbean heritage and was born in the diaspora. During Makonnen's time in Gambia, he connected with his African roots and explored opportunities available in Gambia. Highlights of Makonnen's experience included learning about Gambian culture, visiting the villages, going to a wedding, spending time with the locals, teaching in schools, filming and editing videos for Blagsat YouTube channel, and meeting the movers and shakers of Gambia.
Wow.
So that's just a blurb. I guess the book then gives a real reflection of my experience. And I said there's different layers to it, and I think it's really aimed at people because, quite as I mentioned in the blurb, there's a lot of people that are now thinking of moving abroad, particularly to the Gambia. It's become very, very popular. So for those people from the diaspora that are thinking of making that move, it's very much a book out for them. And also, if you've got a general interest in Gambia or Africa as well. So anyone who's basically probably thinking of moving from the diaspora to the Gambia, has an interest in Gambia, or even is interested in me personally, for example, will definitely find the book interesting.
Well, that's a fantastic description of your book. And I understand that you self-published, and I just wanted to ask you a bit about the process and you found it.
Right. Self-publishing, I thought was brilliant. I really enjoyed the process as much as doing it. And yeah, in terms of why I chose to do self-publishing book is because my first book, The Rise of Rastafari, I kind of semi-self-published it. I did have a publisher, but a lot of it I kind of did myself as well. So I thought to myself, you know what, it's you go on Amazon, for example, and then you go through certain steps. And I thought, because I'd done so much before with my previous book, I was like, there's only a few more things that I kind of need to tweak about. And I thought, you know what, in terms of getting the cover, let me just go ahead and do it, try and design it myself. And in terms of getting the template in and uploading it, because I'd previously done a lot of that work already for my first book, I thought, I'm just going to have a go at it, really. And in terms of the process, I thought it was pretty straightforward and simple. I didn't really have a lot of hiccups or a lot of issues with doing it. As long as, I think if you publish with, say, Amazon KDP, and you just follow the steps, follow the templates, it can be very straightforward. I mean, I got say, for example, for my book cover design, I got my images online. I made sure that I acquired the rights to those images. So I designed the cover myself by getting all the images together. I got the barcode from Nelson's database, where you need to get the barcode. And in terms of getting the book, it's already written in a Word document. So I already had the format that I downloaded from Amazon and uploaded it. So I thought that the process is not as hard as a lot of people think that self-publishing is. And along the way, I'm glad that I did it, because then I can teach other people now. So now I'm designing the courses around it, where I can let people know, for example, this is actually how it goes. This is the process that you do. And then this is what you can do. I want to actually say thanks to Ian Powell, who's a friend of mine, who actually helped proofread my book, because he's a head teacher, head of sixth form. I had him proofread my book as well. So I kept it, everyone I used and myself was all like internal. So I didn't have to go externally to a publisher or anyone else to do my book. But I guess that's already how I found my self-publishing journey.
So now you are a publisher, and you're also teaching other people how to publish their books. How popular has your courses been?
Well, my first course was last Sunday, and it went relatively well. So I think that I've had some good feedback for the people that was on the course. At the moment, it's difficult to fully judge how successful it is, because it's still in early stages, but I definitely will be continuing with it and looking to expand and continue and to grow and do more courses in the future. Next time I may break it up. This last time I had it about self-publishing and marketing. Next time I may break it up to do one segment about self-publishing and then the next one about marketing.
Exactly. You previously worked as a journalist. What did you write about?
So in terms of, I did work as a journalist, but not necessarily just writing. I did video journalism as well. But I'll say, for example, why I did writing, and then I'll go into other areas. So, I got a degree at university in sports journalism. Yeah, I studied at Southampton, and then I went to University of Bedford to complete it. Now, I have done some freelance work. So I've done articles that I read. So one article I did was about the history of West Indian cricket, and that was put in Just Jar, which is a Rastafari lifestyle magazine. I remember studying a lot about West Indian cricket at university, and then it really took to me, because I've got West Indian background myself, and then finding out a lot about the golden team in the 70s and the 80s, etc. was very, very inspiring to know they're the West Indies team for 15 years, which hadn't lost a test cricket game. Yeah, so that was one thing that I did. I also did another article in that magazine, which is about Muta Baruka, which I credit in my book, The Rise of Rastafari. He's a famous Rastafarian icon of mine, and I like listening to a lot of he's a radio personality, a lot of his radio shows, and a lot of his thinking and ideology has inspired me. So that was just like a tribute to him. Other articles that I've done, Muta Baruka, when he visited Jamaica and England, he came to Brixton, and he was hosted at an event by a Kabbalah Revivalist movement, and he came live, Muta Baruka live. And I did an article about that in the Whirlwind newspaper, which is a newspaper by our Kabbalah Revivalist movement, who are a Pan-African organisation here in the UK that operate there in East London. And other articles I've done, Menelik Shabazz, you may have heard of the name. He's put a documentary called For Love. When he came to Luton, I did a write-up article, which was a blog that I did on my website. And I've done articles such as Asher Heights is a reggae artist. I did an article of him when he was in the Gambia. Well, actually, when I was coming back from Gambia the second time, I met him and I interviewed him on the train about his experience of the Gambia and how he was performed in Gambia. And Marley Morris is a friend that I've got over in the Gambia. He's got a restaurant, Messiah's restaurant. I interviewed him about his experience of going from England, I think it's Brixton, from the diaspora to Gambia. And I've done a lot of like different freelance pieces in terms of my writing. Now, in terms of my other journalism in general, I've done particularly a lot of video journalism. Even prior to actually me going to Gambia, I did an interview with BBC, or a presentation anyway, and it's available. It's a video about Kwanzaa. I think it's got over 30,000 hits on the BBC Free Facebook page.
Oh, wow.
And I basically talk about Kwanzaa, why it's important, etc. So BBC Three, they contacted me because they wanted to know about alternative celebrations that people of African heritage celebrate. So that was something very, very popular that I did. Now, going on to when I was in Gambia, I worked with Juliet Ryan for Black Sit YouTube channel, and I did loads of journalism work when I was over there. For 3-4 months, I was working with her, and we basically did the go-to guide of the Gambia. So we broke down, places like restaurants, hotels, Gambian businesses. We documented and highlighted that all the things that people don't necessarily think are that are in Africa, because a lot of people have got this impression that Africa's this and Africa's backwards and jungle and this, that, and the other. To get rid of those misconceptions and to prove that, particularly the Gambia is a beautiful place, and it does have a lot of these things that you would expect, like in say, a so-called Western country. And also we highlighted people's journey who had moved permanently from the diaspora and back to Africa. And some of these people have got restaurants, they've got hotels, they've got various different things that they're doing. And we showed people properties that they could get if they wanted to take property and land. We also went into that and showed people how the processes of how that could be done. So that was a lot of the work that I did when I was out there in Gambia. And we had over 20,000 subscribers in 3 months. So it was a channel that was watched worldwide. We had viewers in England, America, probably Finland, Iceland, all over the world.
Well, it sounds like you've had a fantastic, exciting, exhilarating career in journalism. And you've told me so much about yourself that I didn't know, in terms of some of the activities that you were up to when you were in Gambia and the people that you met as well. What has been your proudest moment since becoming a published author?
I would actually say when I was in Gambia, the moment that sticks out to me is when I went into schools and I did teaching about Rastafari, and within that covers Black history. Yeah, because when I talk about Rastafari, even though it's about Rastafari, a lot of the themes are common. So I always say Rastafari is a story of the Caribbean, the Jamaican, or the story of the Caribbean people. But it's about from us, obviously, from being taken as enslaved Africans from Africa, then to the Caribbean, what happened during that process. Then you've got the transatlantic slave trade. Then you've got colonial Jamaica. Then you've got, even from our parents, the Windrush coming over here, right up to the 60s and 70s in this country, and up to this present day. So it really highlights our general experience as people of African Caribbean heritage. Yeah, so to go to school and to give knowledge on African, on our experience in the diaspora and on Rastafari. One, for Rastafari, because in Gambia, they see it as just a hairstyle, so they don't have a full understanding of it. But particularly when it covered broader African Black history, that was very significant and important, because a lot of those in the Gambia, particularly young children, don't have, even though slavery and things like that happen in Gambia, they don't have much understanding of slavery, or they don't have much understanding of our experience of what we face here in the diaspora. So to then be able to go there and connect with them and tell them about certain things, like they wouldn't have knew about, say, the Windrush generation, or how our grandparents got here. They wouldn't have knew about a lot of the kind of things that I raised with them. So to give them that education on our story, and for them to be aware of it, and I think that's part of what's gonna build the steps between us brothers on the continent and those in the diaspora, when we're sharing our stories with each other.
And you share them so well. I've listened to several of your interviews on YouTube, where you are giving lectures in schools and colleges, and your lectures are also interactive as well. So you start by posing lots of questions about Rastafarism and, getting the young people to engage with you about what Rastafari is all about. So I thoroughly enjoyed that, and you can tell that you share it with passion. But tell us more about your faith.
I don't see it as a faith. To me, it's a movement. So I don't see Rastafari as a religion. However, there's others that do. But to me, it's a Black Power movement, Pan-African movement, and it's very important. Because in essence, like, it's helped shape me or inspired me on this journey. Particularly, one of the main themes of Rastafari, the ultimate goal, is repatriation to Africa, and that's something that that's my goal that I will be moving towards, and hence why when I move to Zambia in the future, that will be it. That's why I was in Gambia. So it's definitely inspired me on my journey and has become me. So to be honest, there's so many ways how Rastafari has influenced me, and which has complemented my thinking, because I'm someone who thinks out of the box anyway. So I'm not someone, sometimes people, when they just follow this because they've read it in a book or this, that, and the other. So I'm always been a critical thinker, but a lot of like the what resonates with me in terms of like people of African heritage being self-sufficient and empowered, building a nation and all of these kind of things is very much the ethos that's about who I am. So it really just blends into my personality and who I am.
Thank you for that. But when you're not writing,
I like listen to reggae music all the time. Like I would say that's a natural thing. But even when I'll probably get off this podcast, I've always got my my phone loaded with reggae music. So that's definitely one of the ways that I relax. And again, even that comes in again with Rastafari and reggae. So a lot of the music that I listen to is very cultured reggae music and videos as well. So a lot of videos that I like watching are other vloggers, about that have done videos in Africa. Some of them I know, some of them I don't know. So again, people that are giving insight about the different countries, not just necessarily Gambia, but some about Gambia, Ghana, Nigeria, and basically different things that I can see. So that's what I generally like doing in my free time.
Sounds as though the stuff that you like doing is things that are uplifting, educational.
Well, because obviously, obviously, I think it all fits into my personality because obviously the reggae music, again, it's like I'm listening to cultured music and I'm as a cultured individual. And then also the kind of things that I'm watching is about all about Africa and going back to Africa. So it all kind of fits into me as a person. And when I see, say, the videos that are quite inspiring to me of the stories of people, when I watch, say, Wada Maya, Dinah Mayer, even Juliet Ryan and the Black Channel, I was on some of our videos we did. And when we look back at people's stories of how they've gone to Africa and now they've gone there and they've built this company or they've set up this hotel or they're doing this to empower the people. And to me, that's very inspiring because you can also see the technological development which is going on in Africa and the continent and how people of the diaspora are benefiting the African people on the continent and also the great minds that are already in Africa as well. Because obviously, certainly, I know probably when you was growing up that you wouldn't have seen these, no, because we don't have technology like this. Even when I was growing up, YouTube is like a new, videos now is a new thing. This is a new generation. So before, having an insight into Africa would have been, you literally have to pretty much physically go there or someone sold you something. Where now, from your own living room, from your own computer, you can really, it's almost as if you could be in Accra, or you can be in the Gambia through some of these YouTube vloggers. So that's really inspiring and uplifts me when I see these stories and the content that they put out.
So what books are you reading at the moment?
Recently, I just picked up a book. It was called Leonard Howell and the Genesis of Rastafari. So Leonard Howell is the pioneer of the Rastafarian movement, and it was his Earth Day. His birthday is not alive now, but on June the 16th, that's his birthday. But this book again, because now there's a lot more information that has come out about Rastafari, and particularly about the origins, and which I highlight in my book, The Rise of Rastafari. So now we can get a lot more insight into, say, the early founders and followers that even in the 70s and 80s, that wasn't necessarily accessible to a lot of people because information wasn't as fast as and glowing as it is now. So there's a lot of books that now, like The Rise of Rastafari, that book I just mentioned, which are really tapping into particularly the origins of Rastafari, which is very important.
Okay, and is there a third book?
Yes. What the topic is on is going to be interesting because obviously I am planning to go to another African country. So whether it is on that, whether it's going to be about me self-publishing and marketing, who knows? I've got something else in mind that I'm thinking of writing a book on. So I think there will be a third book, but it's just what the topic is going to be on.
Okay, so you're one to watch then in terms of a third book coming out, which you will probably self-publish yourself?
Well, I would think so, probably, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So tell us about your Black Book webinar.
The Black Books webinar, it started in May 2020, and really it came out of the vision of, I was part of a group called Luton Black Men Community Group at the time, and because of the COVID pandemic that was going on, everything was online, and so we couldn't have a physical event. Now, we had planned a physical event because we'd done an event prior. We was actually planning a physical event about traveling to Africa, and it had 8 different speakers talking about different African countries. Now, we didn't do it physically because of COVID, so we did it online. Now, I saw how that event went, and it was a similar format. I had 8 different speakers talking about different African countries for 15, 20 minutes. And I like that concept. Now, because I was an author, I then kind of use that concept, but instead of doing it about Africa, I do it about authors. And because it was a year at that time since my book, in May 2019, so it was a year since my book, The Rise of Rastafari, was released last year, May, I then decided to have an event to celebrate that year anniversary. but also invite authors that I knew, such as yourself. You was on the first Black Books webinar, and I had other people like Leah Salmon, Lyndon Wizard, and others on there that could also share their stories about their books. So that's how it took off. And then I did it the next month because it was so successful. And then the feedback that I was getting from people, from not just the authors, the people in the audience, how I felt about doing it, it just started off as a one event, and it just continued to grow. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to continue to do it monthly. And it's just grown and grown, and to the point now where we have international authors, where I've had well over 100 authors of African heritage from around the world, in the Caribbean, in America, in UK, in different places. And it's something that we have authors of different genres. So it's not just that Black history or culture. So you can have relationships, fiction, non-fiction, children's books. You have a wide variety of different books that people can come on and talk about African heritage. And it has really helped to raise awareness of books that people be like, I never knew that I could get, there's an author of African heritage that have written a book like this. So I didn't know where to access this kind of books. And then also the networking opportunities that it's allowed people. Like, I know you've been on Latrina from the Mississippi Speaker Connection. You was invited to speak at her platform. Well, as a result, that I connected you with her. And I know there's been a lot of the other connections that people have made through coming onto the platform. So it's been good that they get the exposure of their book. There's also networking as well. And what I really personally like about it, because there's people like myself, I'm dyslexic. So even like reading books, sometimes I struggle. I prefer audio and visual. But it allows people to still get insight of the author, even if they don't read it. And it's a good preview. So purchase before buy. People can get insight of the author and get a connection, even kind of a relationship with a person before they actually go on and buy the book. And even if they don't buy the book, the benefit is you're still getting your story. Even the people that haven't bought my book, The Rise of Rastafari, but the benefit, I've still been able to tell my story and get it out. I wasn't writing my book to make money initially. So for me, that's a double benefit.
Yeah, I mean, I have certainly benefited from being on your platform, and not necessarily selling books, but people have contacted for radio to be involved in other projects. It was a fantastic opportunity working with Trina, the back end of last year, and that was a result of you connecting us. So thank you very much for doing that. I'm looking forward to coming back on your platform again when Loving the Sisters is here, because I just think it's amazing how far your reach is across so many continents across the world. And it's also really interesting to hear what other people are doing, what other people are writing about, connecting with publishers and readers alike. So well done, and long may the Black Books webinar continue. Are you ready for the quick fire round now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Gambia or Jamaica?
The Gambia, but Jamaican food.
Garnet Silk or Capleton?
Capleton.
Beach or city?
Beach.
Fiction or non-fiction?
Non-fiction.
Pineapple or mango?
Pineapple.
TV or radio?
I'm going to say radio because I've got radio shows now. That's why.
Oh, okay. Market or supermarket?
Supermarket.
Paperbacks or Kindle?
Paperback.
Oh, I can see you struggling there, though. You want to give more of an explanation?
Kind of in between, yeah. Like a 50-50. But if I had to say one or the other, I'd have to say paperback.
No problem at all. Describe your perfect day in Gambia. How would you start your day?
Where I stayed in Gambia, I had this beautiful scenery where I look out the window, nice sunny palm trees, and then I could see the top of the sea where I was. So it would definitely be getting up to that, the sunny weather, having a nice breakfast to start the day off. So having something nice to eat, and then just relaxing with some of the local people. Some of the nice thing that I had when I was in Gambia was just sometimes sitting out and drinking that green tea attire and just talking and communicating with people and relaxing. When I wasn't busy doing a lot of the activities I was doing in Gambia, I did spend a lot of time just with the locals, just sitting back, or go to the beach, for example. Actually, Sundays, I would say a good example would be Sunday, getting ready to go on Sundays. On Sundays, we went to the beach, Solomon's, and it's like a family day. Everyone just goes to the beach, you have the Gambians and whoever's there, and people just chill out, have a good time. Some people play football, some people play wrestling, some people do different activities. And sometimes you get the fish that's cooked from the beach. And then after that, they have like a reggae party that goes on afterwards, and people just having a good time. And when I was in Gambia, it was like, what I loved is when we went to Solomon's Beach Bar is that we had people that would come over from watching our YouTube videos on Blankset every week that would come in, and that we would invite them to Solomon's for, like, we called it a Blankset link up. And then we'd all be there. We'd have like the people from the diaspora, the Gambians, whatever. We'd have a big table, or we'd all just socialize in England. People come from America, England, whatever. And it was all just like one big family, and just having a great time. And just how that's just how I imagine life should be.
Oh, that does sound like a perfect day. I think I'm getting a bit sold on going to Gambia, at least to visit in the first instance. And I've been traveled to North Africa, but I want to, explore what Gambia, Ghana, Nigeria, and those have to offer as well. Makonnen, we have come to the end of the interview already. If people want to find you on media, what are your social media handles?
The best place for social media is probably Facebook. So Facebook, Makonnen Sankofa. So I know people might not be able to spell it. So Makonnen, that's spelled Makonnen, and Sankofa, Sankofa. So that's I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram now as well. Facebook, the Black Books webinar. If you want to join the Black Books webinar group, keep up to date with that. And that's very simple. Just put in the Black Books webinar on Facebook, and you can join the group.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic group to join, where we're often very much the first to know what guests you have coming up on your next webinar. So thank you for that.
In terms of the book, Life in Gambia, The Smiling Coast of Africa. If you search on Amazon, you'll find it. Life in Gambia, The Smiling Coast of Africa. Also, my first book, The Rise of Rastafari, Resistance, Redemption, Repatriation. That can also be found on Amazon as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm looking out for the third book. I'm very interested in the projects that you may be writing about, and I wanted to all the best for the future. Oh, but by the way, when are you likely, now we're coming out of lockdown restrictions, when are you likely to travel?
Could be August, September time. I would say I haven't got an exact date yet, but it would definitely be before the end of the year. I would say before October time, ideally. So I hope August, September is probably the ideal time.
Excellent. Well, please let me know. Please stay in touch, because you always do. Every now and then you pop up with a WhatsApp message to let me know what you're up to. So please keep in touch with me, especially when you travel.
Definitely will do.
Take care now.
I hope you enjoyed the interview with Makonnen Sankofa. It is competition time now. Makonnen has a famous relative from Jamaica. What is his name? Direct message me on Instagram at Loving the Brothers Author with the correct answer for your chance to win a copy of his book, Life in Gambia, The Smiling Coast of Africa. Good luck and bye for now.
Please join Pamela R Haynes for another Author to Author podcast coming soon.